I recently did a video about hidden gems in the epics, and there is a legendary champion that I think is so good. I feel like a lot of people might not be using her.
Shoot him, Kevin!
Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I wanted to shout out a champion that actually, when she got buffed and reworked, absolutely changed the entire direction and progress of my account. I made a whole video on this probably years ago at this point, but the champion that we're going to talk about today is Lady of Ireth. She was garbage when she came out. Very bad. I would argue, you know, Tatsu kind of comes to mind when I think of like legendaries that were introduced and were just kind of looked at as being pretty bad, to be honest. But I think Tatsu's sole purpose, and I hate to say it, is kind of just to get Mikage. But Lady of Ireth, she was included as a part of the Arbiter series, right? A lot of us, if you started an account and weren't doing this kind of live when it happened, the Call of the Arbiter series, which is this 10-part episode, which I actually thought wasn't bad. I borderline enjoyed it and would love to see them kind of maybe re-explore this a little bit. But listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. She was in the storyline when she got introduced. Now, she is part of the Sylvan Watchers, which for me, I mean, I don't know, kind of makes sense, but definitely with all the greenery, like they obviously made her look like part of Sylvan Watchers, but I guess I don't understand it from a lore perspective, perhaps. But, well, you know what? There's probably a whole bunch of lore I should read up on, maybe, right? Either way, Lady of Ireth, when she came out, she was really bad. Didn't really do anything special. Now, she's pretty good. I am curious about the reviews. Yeah, the reviews kind of reflect my stance on it. But let's go over her kit, and then I'll tell you a little bit of story about how she impacted my account so much. So the A1 is a little bland, right? Attacks one enemy, instantly activates one random continuous heal buff on all allies with less than 85% HP. That doesn't go up. There's nothing that gets altered by that. It's kind of just a book sucking ability. Not one of my favorite A1s, right? Not a great A1, but that's okay. The A2 removes all debuffs from a target ally, heals that ally by 50% of her HP, and the heal can be critical. Now, I understand that that's like, heal can be critical, but if anybody's used Apothecary, you know how valuable that can be sometimes. I don't think it's necessary that it needs to be critical, if I'm being completely honest with you, and the reason I say that is because it's based on her HP, so it's probably going to be a pretty big heal if you're building her with HP. But there's more. If the target ally is not fully healed, places a block damage buff on them for 2 turns. If the ally is fully healed, which usually they are, fills their turn meter by 50% and then heals all allies equal to 50% of the surplus heal. Actually, that critical part makes more sense now. Yeah, this is actually a really good heal. And the turn meter part of that is actually sneaky good too. Sure, it's only 50%, but sometimes, especially if you're manualing fights, sometimes that extra 50% is probably going to get a champion to go ahead and take their next turn. So I like this heal quite a bit. I like this ability quite a bit, and I've used this mostly to try and give very specific champions like, oh shoot, you know, looking at Hydra and going, oh no, I need my provoke like right now. You see their turn meter could be a lot fuller of your provoker, and it's like, okay, Mistwood healing, and then you get that provoke out, you prevent your all your debuffs from being taken away, right? So love that. But wait, there's more. So on a books down to a 3-turn cooldown, which I didn't even realize that. 25% strengthen and continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns. Just kind of good, but also decreases the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion's by 1 turn. So she brings that cooldown reduction. Is she just a better version of some of the like rare champions that do this? Sure, you could make that argument, but for me, she was game changing, and I'll tell that story in a second, but I want to go through the rest of her kit. So lastly, places a shield buff equal to 15% of her HP on the ally with the lowest HP for 2 turns at the start of this champion's turn. So yeah, this cooldown reduction actually paired quite well with another champion in her very faction, which is Emic, a fusion that I did on this account. Emic also brings cooldown reduction and a big shield, as well as a bunch of buffs and unkillable for your whole team. So ultimately what I ended up doing was having Lady of Ireth and Emic work together in a lot of different areas of the game to give myself unkillable teams. For the longest in fact, do I still use them? I do. So they are my team for Iron Twins. And you may look at this team and be like, oh, why do you need those guys? Well, you'll see. We can run it really quickly. So they are still my Iron Twins team because it keeps that unkillable up, and they keep these heavy hits coming as well, because you know the downside to using enemy max HP on Iron Twins is that he's going to counterattack a lot, like you're seeing here. So bringing this big shield from Emic and the unkillable and the cooldown reduction means that I'm going to cycle back to those big hits sooner and allow less time for the Iron Twins debuffs to stack up, which is how he does a bunch of damage. Now, obviously, those nukers, these enemy max HP nukers, are built very, very well. Acrisia, of course, hits like a truck with enemy max HP, but you get the idea. Why were they so valuable to me? Why do I need the combo of Emic and Lady of Ireth? Because I didn't have cooldown reduction on this account. It was something that I just never really got on the account until recently, and in fact I got it so late that despite the fact that he is a powerhouse, I finally pulled Prince Kymar, and he's just got some mismatched gear for Vection Wars. I actually really don't use him. I don't even have him booked, right? Which sounds crazy, but it's one of those if it ain't broke, don't fix it moments. Kymar is amazing. So good. I should use him, but I kind of already have my cooldown stuff figured out. So are there areas of the game that Kymar would be beneficial? Absolutely. But this one also brings me unkillable and some healing and some strength and like just a lot of other stuff. So ultimately Kymar just never kind of replaced them yet. Maybe another situation will arise that they will become valuable. And it's not just something I do for Iron Twins. I also use them as my cooldown reduction in my Ice Golem team. So that's a longer run, and I've kind of made a couple videos on this team, so I don't really want to rehash that. But yeah, they are my cooldown reduction when it comes to Ice Golem, and I could just throw a Kymar in there, but I like getting that unkillable. It helps me with some of the trickiness of Ice Golem hard, and the healing actually pays off quite well too. And ultimately it just comes down to RTAC, but most of the time the team works pretty well. You know what? We'll go ahead and do it. We'll go ahead and do one real quick, and I'll wait till we get to the good part. Well, I said I was gonna wait till we get to the good part, and then I kind of realized that you're gonna get to see their cooldown reduction in action here. So cooldown reduction, we already saw it from Emic, but that's allowing these Theodores to get through this wave very, very quickly. So a big reason why we want that cooldown reduction. There's that unkillable coming into play, keeping my team alive in case that was a heavier hit. And then this team functions and does damage by keeping these two alive and using HP burns to keep that going. But you can hear the dun, dun, dun sound effect that I know a lot of you don't use audio when you play Raid, but you can kind of, there's the cooldown reduction, there's the cooldown reduction, and you can see the Theodores are doing most of the damage, activating these burns to kind of chunk through Ice Golem. It's not the fastest team in the world, but it is the team that I enjoy using, and it works great for me. So, like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I am that type of guy. And the cooldown reduction is just helping us churn through, get all that damage in, and there we go, right? So, yeah, I really like Lady of Ireth. Sure, I could, also talk about Emic, but I think everyone kind of knows Emic is pretty good, right? We don't really need a showcase on him, but I feel like when they reworked Lady of Ireth, a lot of people were like, she was already guarding their vault, and maybe they already had Kaimar, or maybe they had Yumiko, and that, is she for everybody? No, but I will tell you right now, if I pulled Lady of Ireth as my first legendary in Raid Shadow Legends, I would be pumped. I would be so excited, because I think this ability is very, very valuable in the game. Strengthen is actually really good. Like, don't sleep on Strengthen just as a buff in general. And then you get some very early healing with block damage that'll go off a lot more in the early game when you're not fully healing people. The A1 is not so great. The shield is okay, but that cooldown reduction is really good. And also, don't forget about the cleanse part of this as well. And if you're manualing, which is something that you probably do a lot in the early game, you can really manipulate this for that turn meter for your nuker in arena. So, and she's not like super slow, like 106 speed. That's not anything impressive, but I've definitely seen slower champions out there. I'm trying to think of any that kind of come to mind. There are definitely some legendaries out there that are not the fastest things in the world. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Lady of Ireth. Wanted to give her a pretty big shout out today. So yeah, hopefully for those of you that have her and maybe slept on her, maybe she could be the sneaky solution that you've been looking for, like she was for me. Or maybe, no, you guys are all fine and no one has a need for Lady of Ireth. But for me, I think she's awesome and still one of my favorite champions, right? Because I used to be that guy. Really quick backstory on me. I used to be that guy that had a Zune instead of the iPod, right? Because it was like, oh, I'm cool. I'm different. So I still have a little bit. I'm not like that anymore. I've got an iPhone in my pocket right now, but I'm still a little bit in that, like, I still like finding those champions that it's like, well, have you heard about this one? So anyways, that's how I feel. Wanted to share with you guys. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. It is the best way to support my channel, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Take care.